coming today. It's such a pleasure to be here. I will tell you just briefly how I ended up here. I've been in Pasadena for 21 years now. So as you can tell, I moved here when I was 5. So I came to Pasadena, like many of you, because of the opportunities. I have an undergraduate degree from the University of Maryland, and my degree is in physics. Terp? No, we got a terp in the audience. Fund him. I have a degree in physics from there with additional studies in economics, which is part of my ridiculous path. I came here to go to Caltech for graduate school. I did a Ph.D. in physics at Caltech. I did a postdoctoral fellowship here at JPL. And I did that because, like many of you, I really care about Pasadena and I like living here. And I just decided I was going to make this my home. So I ended up creating a consulting practice focused on technology commercialization. I went on to get an M.B.A. in finance at Pepperdine. And I was very fortunate. I had a great consulting practice because there was so much happening here. And then, like many of you, I got itchy and wanted to do something else. And I went on to USC 2 years ago. And a year and a half into this, I got the opportunity to propose to the National Science Foundation that we should have an innovation node focused here in Los Angeles. And the idea was to bring together all of the talent that's already here in LA and really make this a focal point for innovation on a national scale. And I'm very fortunate that someone read that proposal and said yes. And so we now have an organization called Innovation Node Los Angeles. It's headquartered at USC in the engineering school. I hold an appointment in the Marshall School of Business, the Viterbi School of Engineering, and the Roski School of Design, where I'm a faculty member in the Ivy and Young Academy. And I've had the great fortune of being able to bring together those communities, but also bring them together with our partners at Caltech and at UCLA. So those are the 3 organizations that sit under the umbrella of Innovation Node LA. We are rapidly growing because initially we thought that our domain was LA. And someone said to me from the National Science Foundation, well, you know, we're not going to put another node in San Diego. So really, that's the boundary. And I said, okay, I like San Diego. The people at UCSD are great. La Jolla is beautiful. So, and someone else said to me, well, of course you'll go up to Santa Barbara. And I said, that sounds reasonable too. Then someone else said, well, what about UC Merced? And I said, oh, in Merced, it will be news to them that they're part of Southern California. And then someone else said, well, you know, the nearest node as you go east is headquartered at UT Austin. So really you can go as far east as the Texas border. And I thought, well, that will be news to the Arizona folks, that they're part of Southern California. But the point is that our mandate is to bring together talent that has ground zero at those universities, but that encompasses all of the neighboring communities. So what does it mean to bring people together? It means events like this, but it has to be more than that, because the National Science Foundation does not write a check just to go and talk to great people, unfortunately. So what are we doing? We are creating programs that are both educational and ecosystem building. So we have a series of programs where we are teaching people to do 2 things. One is interact with their customers before they have customers, and the second is to think about their businesses in the framework of the business model canvas. So those of you familiar with lean startup methodologies will recognize this. The NSF linked up with folks at Stanford and Berkeley, and Steve Blank was a key part of launching this initiative to really help bring lean startup methods and thinking into the communities at large and into the universities. So we are hosting a number of different educational programs. Our initial ones are just 2 sessions long, separated by a week. And the upshot is that we show you how to think about your business. We ask you to go and talk to 5 prospective customers in the space of a week, and then come back and report on it. For those of you who decide that you like that experience and you want more, we have more focused, longer programs. And for those of you who are looking at retiring technical risk, or who have technologies that are specifically of interest in the educational world, there are additional funding opportunities from the National Science Foundation to get funds specifically for customer discovery. So any of you who've interacted with the federal agencies, know that traditionally they're not known for moving very fast. The NSF program, the I-Corps program, Innovation Corps, is completely different. And we are focused on building up the infrastructure and the ecosystem very quickly. So our programs will launch, they actually have launched already. I want to thank the Design Accelerator team who let me do some pilots there over the course of the last few weeks. We are launching on a broader scale starting in January. And so for those of you who are interested in this kind of education and this kind of opportunity, we ask you to go to lanode.org. We are constantly updating our calendar there. You can get on our mailing list, and you can start to see the calendar so that you can sign up to participate in some of the events. The other element that we're very focused on is the ecosystem development. And so people who attend our programs, who participate from start to finish, which is easy to do with the first session because it's only 2 sessions long. If you're interested in those, in that education, you can also be invited to our Angel Summit, which is a chance for angel investors throughout Southern California to interact with entrepreneurs throughout the region, but we will have a special session and a special room dedicated to people who've gone through the NSF educational program. So check everything out at lanode.org. We're really excited about serving the community, and I want to thank all of our partners, particularly at Caltech and UCLA, also the Design Accelerator, Innovate Pasadena. It's been such a pleasure to watch Innovate Pasadena grow. So I actually want to open it up for questions. I could talk for 2 hours, but I won't. So I want to open it up for questions and see who would like to know more about it and what have I overlooked.
Okay, so we'll pass the mic around for questions. John will be walking around. Raise your hand. Stand up, say your name, what you do, and ask a question. We don't really want a 2-minute commercial about how you're changing the world, but just we'd like to know who you are. So.
Hi, I'm Yvonne. I have a learning and media company called Edify, and I'm very interested in what you were describing as far as educational funding.
So the NSF has been so successful with its I-Corps program. It was only founded in 2011, and it has grown so quickly that now the NSF is partnering with other federal agencies, including the Department of Education. So we have separate programs at the national scale for what we call I-Corps-L, I-Corps for Learning. And if you contact me, we can make sure that you get focused into that series of programs. So it's a progression. We have local programs that are 2 sessions long. We have a deeper one, which is 4 sessions long. And then the funding opportunities come with a 7-week program. And that 7-week program brings people together from all over the country. We just had the good fortune of hosting one at USC over the last 7 weeks and did our wrap-up. And the program is quite rigorous. It's 100 interviews over the course of 7 weeks. So when you do the math, that's about 17 interviews a week. Teams that do not keep up with that pace are clearly not a good fit for that program, and the NSF is aware that the funding is basically linked to your level of commitment. And so the more committed you are, the more opportunities you'll find in general, and that's certainly true with the NSF also. So specifically for the learning and the educational related technologies, you can work with us at the local scale, at the regional scale in our local programs, and then we can feed you into the national opportunities.
Back here.
Andrea, I'm Andy. I run a company called Rexter. Question about, you mentioned 3 programs, kind of, I guess you call it the mini, the medium, and the long program. Are they progressive?
They are progressive.
So and
so we're offering the little one frequently enough that you can feed yourself into the longer program. We find that many of you already know this, but your first contact with the marketplace can be a little bit of a shock. And so we created a progressive program so that we can help everyone really come up to speed because the national program is so rigorous. We find that a progressive approach works best.
And what do you need to do to qualify to get into the starter program? And what, as an entrepreneur, will I get out of that which is different than maybe what I get out of the subsequent programs?
So at the very early phases, what you get out of it first is the guidance on the initial contact with the marketplace, but what we also do is bring together entrepreneurs and mentors. And a big part of the NSF's focus is the relationship between entrepreneurs and mentors. And in addition, the development person in the university that's a principal investigator. But in the broader world, you may find that you have a senior technical person who's doing the development. In the early phases, we are not as focused on requiring that you have that complete team because part of our job is to bring you together with mentors. And so what you need to do is come to us with a product that has some technical risk. Maybe you actually have a concept and not even a product. You have an idea of what you could bring to the marketplace, but you're not entirely sure. That's ideal for us because we can help you define what those product features would be to meet the benefits that the marketplace requires. So the upshot is that in order to apply or to qualify, you need to just submit an application or fill out the contact information on our website. And the requirements become more rigorous as you progress through the program. Certainly at the national level, the NSF has more stringent requirements on what they're interested in funding. If you're already in the marketplace and you're already selling to zillions of people, you're not a good fit. We're really looking for those nascent entrepreneurial opportunities. Those of you who've got concepts but haven't had them validated in the market yet, this is a method to do that.
Hi, my name is Alice Law. I have an Internet of Things company. Actually, my product have been collaborated with USC Computer Science Department for a year and a half already. Speak up, please. Okay. I want to know that, how much it costs, to join the program and how much, commitment we need.
So the first statement, which I'm happy to repeat, is that she's collaborating with the USC Computer Science Department, and that's the basis for the technology that she is launching. The question of how much does it cost is, at the outset, it costs you nothing. We are hosting the programs. In terms of the level of commitment, if the initial program is 2 sessions, and each session is a half day. If you are launching your company, hopefully you are willing to spend half a day for each of 2 weeks on thinking about your company. You will also be working on it in the intervening time. In that intervening week, you'll be interviewing people. And I should say also that in order to participate in the program, you are committing to doing some work even before you walk in the first day. So our first day, we hit the ground running. You have a business model canvas. You have an idea of who your customer segments are. You have some model in your head of how you're going to launch this business. So the main commitment that we ask from you is just commitment to the process and dedicating enough time on it as you go through the educational programs. You will be talking to a lot of people, which hopefully is aligned with what you're doing anyway in launching your company.
Hi, my name's Graham. I've got a couple of different technology startups. One of the questions is, or my main question is, if we attend the mini, if you've got a group of 2 or 3 in your startup, is it just one person from the group that goes, or can actually 2 or the whole team come along if it's like 3 people, so that everybody gets a benefit and we work off it?
So we at the National Science Foundation, and I personally firmly believe that innovation is a team sport. And so we really like to see teams attend. A team of 5 or 6 is probably too big, max of 3 people. But we do like to see people come, and the team can evolve. It may be that if you start out the program, there's one of you, and you pick up a co-founder, a partner along the way, that's ideal. And as I said, part of our goal is to match you with mentors. So if you are in need of senior leadership or guidance, we see that as part of our job, is to help you with that.
Mike Schaefer with Echo Factory. You talked about the geography spread with your program. How does Pasadena look with your program? Do you have a lot of startups coming to you from Pasadena?
So first of all, I live near the top of Lake Street. So Pasadena has a very special place in my heart. Certainly, we are really interested in startups in the greater Pasadena area. Caltech and JPL provide a nice anchor for us, but we know that there's just so much innovation, even outside of what's funded at those organizations, because it's a community that attracts lots of great people. So we definitely see a lot of interest here. It's not coincidental that we launched our pilot at the design accelerator a few blocks from here. So we're very interested in supporting activities in Pasadena. And basically, our job is to make sure that we are keeping up with demand from the community.
Hi, my name is Eric. I'm a mobile app developer. How is this program similar or different from a traditional accelerator or incubator program?
So obviously in terms of residential accelerators or incubators, we don't have any space. This is headquartered in my office at USC. And so we are using the spaces that our neighbors and partners provide. In terms of additional infrastructure and so forth, we are not going to host activities where an accountant comes in and talks about elementary accounting for startups, even though those are obviously really important topics. Our focus is entirely on lean startup methodology and specifically on how do you interact with the marketplace in very early phases of your company. We also don't have the same kind of 90-day incubation period, right? In some ways, you can think of our incubation period as being about 10 days long, because you can get started a couple of days before you come to our first program, do the second day a week later, and hopefully you emerge with a little bit more insight. So it's really not designed to compete with accelerators. It's not designed to compete with incubators. Obviously, I don't get equity in your companies, unfortunately. So it's really about educating and providing additional support to the local community.
Hi, I'm Zelda Harrison with Zelda Design. So I wanted to know if the program was open to college seniors, young graduates, and on the other hand, to companies that have been in business for a while but maybe are looking to ramp up in their development.
Okay, so those were two different questions. The first one is whether you qualify if you're a college senior or in some other level of your education. You do qualify at those stages. Certainly, the level of commitment is difficult to achieve if you're still in college taking a full-time load, but absolutely you're welcome to apply and to attend some of the programs. Your second question was, what if you've been in business and you're trying to regroup? Is that correct?
Small businesses that are looking to ramp up, maybe they've been in activity for a while. For small businesses that may be in business for a while but are looking to pivot, change directions, ramp up, grow.
We're very interested in supporting the growth of small businesses. And so our education programs certainly are available for the small businesses as well. Depending on the demand, we may end up creating separate activities for people who have been in business for a while, because we find that small businesses at least have some understanding of how to work with the marketplace in a way that a new entrepreneur may not. But we're certainly interested in helping. There's a half hand. Somebody I scared her, so she's...
Hi, my name is Chelsea. I'm from Creative-Boo. So my question is, how long has the program been running, and what is the success rate of the startup that bring ideas to market? And also, can you give an example of some startup that has been finished that?
I can indeed. So the program launched in 2011 at Stanford and Berkeley, and then additional nodes were created in Michigan and Georgia. The next one was in Washington, D.C., and then one was created in New York, and then two this year, one in Austin and one here. So in terms of the length of the program, it's actually not super long if you think about it. That's a lot of growth for a 3-year-old program. In terms of success stories, there is one kind of apocryphal story now of someone who went through the program thinking that they had one particular software application. Through the course of the 7-week program at the national level, they discovered a completely different application and ended up being acquired by Dropbox some number of months later. We find that the companies that do go through the program have a much higher success rate of applying for additional sources of funding, specifically the SBIR program. You may be familiar with the Small Business Innovative Research Program. Companies that go through I-Corps have a much higher success rate. It's not a prerequisite for that program, but if you're interested in learning about how to create a business, it's a framework to learn what are distribution channels. How do you think about your partners? How do you think about cost and revenue structures? So in general, the numbers are quite good. Of the companies that have gone through the national I-Corps program, most of whom are university teams, something like half of them go on to start businesses, and a very large fraction of them go on to get SBIR funding successfully.
Any more questions?
Andy probably has a bunch of questions, so I'm prepared.
So if I have a company that doesn't have, let's say, science-based intellectual property, I have an e-commerce company, is this relevant, and is there a requirement that it have a IP or intellectual property or research aspect to it, or could it be kind of web-enabled commerce? Are there any limitations around the types of businesses?
So for the regional programs, we welcome all business models and concepts. The web e-commerce businesses absolutely can participate in this. I will say that the NSF funding opportunities are really focused on commercializing intellectual property, and so that path may not be appropriate for the web businesses, but certainly we can still provide the additional education programs and the networking with mentors and other ecosystem activities. So the short answer is yes, you too are welcome. Because I know better than to exclude Andy Wilson from any activity. There's a question in the very, very back.
Who has a question?
Blake.
So with Stanford having StartX and Y Combinator, and USC Marshall School of Business having their own incubator, how are you going to, or how did you work within that realm at Stanford, and how are you planning on replicating that at SC?
So first of all, I am not working with the Stanford team directly in their incubators because they have their own incubators and their own infrastructure. But certainly we take their lessons learned, and we are exchanging ideas and even some personnel all the time. In terms of working with the Marshall School Incubator, there are actually several incubators that exist at USC. The Viterbi School has its own startup garage with student-led incubation or student-led ventures. And we have a number of other activities. The way we work with them is that we provide some of the educational framework for them. And for instance, our Angel Summit is our big event in May where we bring together angel investors from the community with our local startups. That is done in partnership with our incubator and all the other organizations that exist at USC. Some of you may know that university bureaucracies are not small or easy to penetrate, but we've been very lucky. USC is really excited to be hosting this activity. And similarly at Caltech and UCLA, our partners at both of those schools include people from multiple organizations, so business and engineering. This is really a pervasive push to help bring all those different groups together under an umbrella that just supports education. That's our key mission. Are there any other questions? Please, if you want information, go to lanode.org. There's a Contact Us page. You can enter your information and you will hear a whole lot from us. So I'd like to thank you for your interest today. It's been such a great year in Pasadena with all the activity here, so it's great to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the things that we like to do after each presenter is take a photobomb picture with you in front of the whole crowd. So if you want to stand here real quick, we'll get a picture of you.
Nobody told me this.
Everybody in the background, make funny faces. And your marks, get set, go.